another language, you would take that for granted, and you may or may not do that. But if you have to work for it, and you have to really study, then once you learn that language, you're going to do something where you can use it because you've worked hard for it. And God knows that. He knows that if He just hands it to us, we're not going to appreciate it. So God won't make it easy, necessarily.
We had two languages to learn.
He'll make it where it's not impossible, but He won't necessarily make it where it's easy. And and that's something we got to realize, that God's not going to give us everything on a silver platter just because we want to do something and do it for Him. He is still going to make us work for it, because then we're going to appreciate it. And this might seem trivial to y'all, but to me it was a big God thing to me. I'm part of a dance group, and we went to dance 3 years ago at a convention, and we were dancing in front of, I don't know, there were 3,000 to 5,000 people there. Nobody could ever nail it down for us. I've never danced in front of 3,000 to 5,000 people before. Nobody in our group had. And we were nervous. We were afraid. We didn't know what we were going to do up there. We didn't know if we'd get up there and forget every step. Dancing is not a big God thing, you wouldn't think. But I mean, we were standing in line waiting for our time, for our team to go up and dance. And we had on these shiny little shirts, and they had, big red crosses on the back of them. And this little boy, must have been 5 years old, maybe 6, he came up to our leader and said, "I really like your shirts, especially those big crosses on the back." And at that point, it's like everybody on our team just had this feeling of peace. All the nervousness went. We weren't nervous standing in line anymore. We had impressed this little 5-year-old with our shirts. All of a sudden, it was like God sent this little angel to us and said, "Hey, I'm taking care of you." And I cry, think about it. I do get emotional about it, because it was it was an exciting thing for us. But what really amazed us was we got on that dance floor, and we had people on our team that had certain steps, never done them right. Not once. Not one time in practice. Not one time when you were standing there showing them exactly what to do. We've been practicing this routine for 4 months, and we have people who have never gotten certain steps right. We walked out on that stage, and I remember walking out there and thinking, wow, how come I'm not nervous? I had quit shaking. I'm shaking now, but I had quit shaking then. And walked out there, we were dancing, and I remember partway through it thinking, oh my goodness, I don't even have a clue where we are, and actually feeling like I wasn't the one dancing. I really, honest to goodness, felt like God was dancing through me. He was making my feet move. He was making me smile. Partway through the song, I said, I don't even have to think. I could praise God through this whole song. And that's what I did. Through that entire song, I praised God. We were dancing to Grace Like Rain. Anybody knows Grace Like Rain? Wonderful song. Wonderful song. And we were dancing in front of people that, they were dancers. They were other dancers. The songs that they danced to were generally country, bluegrass. The lyrics, I'd be, oh my goodness, they're letting a 6-year-old dance to those lyrics, and they wear skimpy outfits, and they get up there and make moves that my body wouldn't do, but these were the people we were dancing to. We're the only Christian group there. We were it. And these 3,000 to 5,000 people, when we got up there and the music started, we realized they do this all year long. They don't pay big attention to other dancers. They only look at their team generally when they're up there. And a silence came over the whole place. As soon as our music started, all the chit chat stopped. Of course, we didn't know this while we were on stage, but we had video cameras. When we sat and watched the video cameras, we said, look at how everybody quit talking. Their eyes went straight to the stage. They didn't do that in the song before us. They didn't do that in the song behind us. Everybody stopped talking. Everybody watched. People started standing up. Hands went into the air. It wasn't our dancing. It wasn't our dancing at all. It was God. And I know that sounds little, but honestly, when we came off of the floor, not one of us could talk. I mean, my throat felt so completely raw that I've just never, ever have had that feeling before, completely raw. Our instructor, it was, I'd say 35 minutes before she could get a word out of her mouth. Her throat was so raw, and every one of us felt it. My son Jason felt it, every one of us. There were those people that had never got a step right, they nailed it. Every one of them got it right. Haven't been able to get it right since. You know, God was dancing that night. And like I said, that sounds like a little thing, but we danced in front of all these people. Well, a few months later, maybe 6 months later, we got this little thing in the mail, and another group who watched us dance that night had gone back and started a praise team of dancers. You know, they didn't discontinue their main group. They were still doing their other dances and stuff, but they had gotten a subgroup out of that where they were going around to nursing homes and churches and things and doing praise dance. Another group had been started because of us going up there that time. That might have been the only reason God wanted us there. We don't know. All we know is we were the only team that got a standing ovation, and it wasn't us. It wasn't us at all, because our steps were simple. These were competition groups. We were there for exhibition. We don't compete. And those competition groups, they don't pay a bit of attention to exhibition groups because they know we're not on their level. Yet, God got a standing ovation that night, and we had, I don't know how many people come up to us the next day and, you know, ask, do you have any more Christian routines? Will you share some with us? You know, our team would like to do some of that. And, you know, the next year there were still those other dances going on and everything. We didn't change the world, but for that night, I honestly felt like God had been in my body, and my body didn't know what to do. So, so that's why none of us could talk. I mean, we couldn't come out and say a word. It was, the feeling was just unbelievable, and it was God. Now, you know, I can't say that would ever happen again, but to experience it one time, you know, that can last me a life. I hope it happens over and over again, because if you've never truly experienced God's presence, doing something that you really thought you couldn't do, and God making it happen, it's unbelievable. And, you know, that's what we want to do here. We want to find those things that God can use, and then equip you, you know, each one of us to use our talents. So when you look at your spiritual gifts, look at what you're good at, look at what you're great at. Also look at the things that you can stretch in, the things that seem impossible that God can pull off. When you look at what you have a heart for, look at what you love to do, what you want to do. But then, you know, look outside that realm a little bit more also. See what God can help you do. This week we're supposed to look at our abilities. And those, you know, those things that we already know how to do. I have some true and false questions for you. True or false? People aren't born with skills. All skills must be learned by experience. True or false? Say false?
False.
I say that many skills seem to be inborn or developed in early infancy. You know, there are often people that just have natural talents for things. So I believe that's false. Okay, true or false? Those skills which must be learned are not learned primarily in the classroom.